Okay, this is just a quick little video on showing you how to find the standard deviation. And the standard deviation is a measure of the spread of the data. And so we would not want to have to do this by hand with a large set of data. So I'm choosing the example from page 60 in your textbook. And the numbers here are 14, 13, 20, 22, 18, 19, and 13. So the first thing I have to do is I have to find the average of all these numbers, or the mean of these numbers. So basically what I did was I added up 14 plus 13 plus 20 plus 22 plus 18 plus 19 plus 13. And the sum was, I do that real fast here, was 119. So the sum of this is 119, and if I divide it by, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers, and if I divide it by 7, that makes my average 17, or my mean 17. So what I'm going to do up here is I'm going to take each number, 14, and I'm going to subtract 17, and I get negative 3. And then I'm going to take 13 and I'm going to subtract 17 and I get negative 4. I'm going to take 20, subtract 17, and I get 3. I'm going to take 22, subtract 17, and I get 5. I'm going to take 18, subtract 17, and I'm going to get 1. I'm going to take 19, subtract 17, and I'm going to get 2. And then finally I'm going to take 13, subtract 17, and I'm going to get negative 4. And so basically what happens is these numbers here in this second column, the negative 3 and the negative 4, the 3, 5, 1, 2, and negative 4, those are called the deviations. And that is how far each data value is away from the mean. And so then what I need to do is I need to square each one of these. So I'm going to take negative 3 and square it. And when you do that, you should get a positive number. So negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. So all of these, this little caret key just means squared, all of these should be a positive answer. So this will be 16. 3 squared again is 9. 5 squared is 25, 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, and negative 4 squared is 16. So these are the squared deviations. And so in my formula up here, this is the formula I'm using for standard deviation, what I have done is each one of the y here is the data value, and then the y bar is the mean. So each number here in this column is my y, so I'll just put equals y here. And then each number here is y minus y bar here. And so then what I did was when I squared it, I'm basically finding what this parenthesis right here is. So then this little funny looking E symbol here means summation. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the sum of this last column right here. I'm going to take the sum of this column right here. So the sum of the squared deviations, and I'm basically going to take 9 plus 16 plus 9 plus 25 plus 1 plus 4 plus 16, and that is equal to 80 if I do that. Okay, and so that here is the top part of this fraction in the formula. So this part right here is the 80. So if I basically, let me just copy this formula here, Control C here, and let's put it down here. Oops, sorry, I must not have got my formula copied. Okay, we'll try this one more time. Okay, so there's my formula. And what happens here is I will have the subbing into my formula. Let's just use the square root key here. This will be, the top of this will be 80, and then I will divide this by n minus 1, where n is the number of pieces of data, and I believe we had 7 numbers, so we had 7 minus 1. So then this will be the square root of 80 divided by 6. Okay, and so 80 divided by 6 is about 13.33. And so then if I take the square root of 13.33, then my standard deviation is about 3.65. Now, this is not too bad to have to do this all by hand if I have a small set of numbers. So here I only had 7 numbers. If I had a large set of numbers, I probably would not want to do this by hand. So one way I could do this is I could do this on a spreadsheet. And so what I'm going to do is I can use either Microsoft Excel, I could use my graphing calculator if I want. I could also use Google Sheets. And I'm going to show this on Google Sheets just because a lot of you may not have Microsoft Excel, and Google Sheets is a free option. So if you are a Chrome user, I'm going to go into my Google Drive, and I am just going to go to New here, and I'm going to create a new Google Sheet. And it's just a spreadsheet is all it is. In my first column, I'm going to label it Data. And in my data column, I'm just going to type in 14, 13, 20, 22, 18, 19, and 13. And so the first thing I need to do is I need to find the average of this data, or the mean of this data. So in a spreadsheet, to do a formula is you put an equal sign in front of it. So you go equal sum, and then I'm going to highlight it. I want it to sum these numbers right here, and that sum is 119. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the average of that. So I'm going to do equals, and I can click on this cell, or I can just type in 119, and I'm going to divide it by 7 because there are 7 numbers, and so my mean is 17. The other way you can do this is if you have to type in a formula, you can go mean, and then you could type in, and Google Sheets must not recognize mean. Let's see if it's under average, equals average. So average, and then highlight these numbers, and we get the same answer. Okay, so then my next column, by doing this by hand, was data minus mean. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take each number that I had over here, and I'm going to subtract the mean. So I'm going to go equals, and I'm going to take the cell that I have here, and then I'm going to subtract the mean, which is this cell here. Now I need that cell there to stay 17, so I'm going to do a dollar sign be in front of the A here, and I'm going to do a dollar sign in front of the 10 here. And then what that happens is the one here, this A2 should change as I drag this down, but this A10 should always stay A10. So now you notice that it took 14 minus 17, and that gave -3. So then I'm just going to drag this down to show that those are all of my deviations from the mean. So now if I compare that to the numbers that I had over here by hand, I had -3, -4, 3, 5. And so I can look real quickly, -3, -4, 3, 5. Those are all the numbers that I had here by hand. Okay, so then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to then square each one of those. So then I'm going to label this column here the squared deviation, so squared deviations. And basically what that does is I'm going to take each one of the numbers that I have over here, so again a formula would be equals, click on this number, and then I'm going to raise it to the second power. So in math it's just the caret key, which is the number above your 6 key, just go shift 6 and then squared. Then what that does is that squared -3 gave me 9. So then if I just pull that formula down, then I can check -4 squared is 16, 3 squared is 9, 5 squared is 25, and it's squaring each one of those numbers. So again, the next thing I need to do is I need to know the sum of that column. So I'll just equal sum, and then again I'll highlight all of these. So the sum of that column is 80, which is what I got by doing it by hand. And then what I can do is just go simply take 80 divided by the number of data minus 1. So in this case there were 7 pieces of data, and I would take 80 and click on either 80 or just type in 80, either one, and I would divide it by 6. And there's my variance, 13.33. And then I could do the same thing, equals, and then for square root, it's SQRT right here, square root. And then I'm going to do the square root of this number. And there's my standard deviation, 3.65. Okay. The other thing you can do is you could try typing in standard deviation. So I'll just go to a blank cell here and equals, and let's see, standard deviation is for Google Sheets is STDEV, so I'll click on that, and then I'll highlight these numbers here that I'm trying to find the standard deviation of, and you notice that it gives me the exact same answer here.